Hi guys, Kiara here. Um, so before I jump into this video, I just want to let you guys know that the video didn't record my video during this talk. But the conversation that I had with Francisca was amazing. So you only see her on the screen, but you hear both of us throughout, crystal clear. And it's such a meaningful conversation that I didn't want you guys to miss it just because of that stupid tech glitch that happens sometimes. Um, so today I'm talking with Francisca Kleffel. She is a holistic therapist and warm-hearted guide for deep thinkers, overthinkers, and culturally complex souls who are ready to move from anxiety and self-doubt toward clarity, calm, and inner strength. She has an amazing multicultural background, gentle humor, and intuitive approach. She helps clients untangle mental loops, reconnect with their authentic selves, and walk through their own unique healing paths, one grounded, empowering step at a time. So, in this episode, her and I are talking about what it really means to be seen in therapy. We explore how cultural spirituality and identity shape our work, and why we're so passionate about making therapy a space where all parts of you are welcome. We'll also talk about our own personal journeys and how we became therapists and what brought us here, as well as just you can see us as who we are as individuals. So grab a cup of something nice and warm and settle in, and thank you for being here. And we hope that this conversation leaves you feeling seen, understood, and a little bit more connected to your journey, or even just help you find the type of therapist that you want to see. So let's dive right in, and I can't wait to hear your comments below.
Hi, Fran. Thank you for
Hi,
doing this with me.
sure, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I know we met like virtually in like Amber's group, which has been awesome. And
Yeah.
I think it's so cool like how we were able to like meet internationally. So like whenever I found Amber's thing, I didn't think you went international. I thought it was just United States based. And whenever I found out that you were in Germany, I thought that was like super cool.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was one of the odd ones out, but it was so fun to be with you guys because I have a lot of connections to the States, and it was really my great pleasure. I think there was also someone in the UK, someone in Belgium, and something like that. It was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to learn more about you. So tell me a little bit about like how you became a therapist and like what got you started on your journey.
Right. And I've actually found similarities to you. I was also always the go-to person. If people wanted like life advice and had worries and troubles, they always came to me. It was the same. I think it was the same with you, right?
Yeah.
And I always found it super fascinating, to kind of like find solutions for problems. Also, my mom was a teacher, but also super interested in psychology, and we had a good relationship. So we would sit after, lunch when I was a bit older. We would sit for hours at the lunch table discussing human behavior and motivations and what have you. So it was always super interesting to me, like why people behaved the way they did and where they came from and why, like the journey that made them how they are, and then the chances of how to change and how to grow and stuff. So it's always been like this. And then I studied. I was a teacher for some time. I worked with kindergartners and juveniles, and I did some bit esoteric counselings and stuff like that. And because I'm a very holistic person, so
Yeah.
everything belongs in the mix for me. I think it's a and yeah, and it's just I love this what I do. It's like, I'm so excited for growth, and I'm so excited for healing, and it's just like it's the honor of my life to be doing this. Does that answer your question, kind
Yeah,
of?
it does. So just like so some people might not know what it means, but what is esoteric therapy?
Well, no, it's not esoteric therapy. I did have a training as a psychological astrologer at one point. This is 20 years ago or something, because I was into astrology, but not into the ones that have some prognosis and stuff, but more like, okay, if you're this and that, what does the constellation tell you about it? But I always in the class back then, I really very much enjoyed that they were not dogmatic about it, but it was really like, okay, let's put it this way: you as a soul come here to this time on this earth And these are the lessons and the opportunities you have for growth. These are, and for me, it was just like, okay, let's look at it from this perspective. But it wasn't dogmatically like you are whatever, a Cancer, or you are a Gemini or whatever, but more like, haha, let's look at the Gemini aspects of your personality. Like, what about communication? What about learning? Cancer, what about feelings? Blah, blah, so and so on. And I like that in this training, it was never something that you're put in a mold, but more like perspective things. And I think this kind of like also sparked my whole thing of like, there's always different ways of seeing what's happening,
Yeah.
and what's happening to you, and how you are in it, and how you're reacting, and so on. So that's kind of like, but I don't use astrology. I hardly ever use it anymore in my constellations. It's consultations. Constellations. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
that's so cool that you mentioned that though, because like I know like we talked about it before, like in our peer group, but like I've been like on my own spiritual journey, and I've done like a celestial reading, and I found out like some more about my like zodiac symbols and how like it's impacted my life. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh crap, like yeah, this stuff is like really hitting home. Like
Mm.
finding out that I'm a Cancer sun. I always knew that I was a Cancer because of like where my birthday falls, but I never knew I was an Aries moon. And then
You're a Cancer, actually?
yeah, I
I
am.
didn't know that. Look.
Yeah, I am a Cancer. June 30th.
Yay.
Yeah, and then I have a lot of Pisces in my chart
Mhm.
too, and so it's just like crazy how it all plays into each other. And it's just like you do such a
Yes.
chart, and
And
you
I
do
think
human
this opens up.
design.
Right. And it opens up, if you really dive into it, it opens up a whole new world. It's not just like your stupid, sorry, no, don't mean stupid, but you're like your very bland horoscope in some magazine or whatever. It's so many layered, and it's really super interesting to find yourself in that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it is so cool because yeah, because you're right, it is more than just like a horoscope because there's more to
Yeah.
it than just like a prediction for what your day is going to be like. It's more like what your soul is meant to do on this earth. Like
Yeah.
and like I found out like I've done like some past life regression stuff, and I found out
Mhm.
some information about my past life, and just like it's crazy how like our souls recycle like the
Yes.
lessons that we're supposed to be doing that we might not have done in the past life that we're now doing now, and it's fascinating to me.
Totally. And funny you say that. I also actually trained in doing past life regressions, and I think it's again same with astrology. I don't look at it dogmatically. It's really more like, hey, what an interesting perspective. It's like I'm a very free spirit in that sense, that there's so many truths and there's so many interesting facets to this life and to personalities and everything. So I think it's super fascinating to just like, and same both with horoscope and the past life regressions. I think both of them, for me at least, have this inbuilt thing of, let's learn, let's use this life to develop. Yes, let's go on a journey from here to there, and really like take everything that is good with us, and develop and grow and evolve. So
Yeah,
that's kind of like what I love about that.
yeah, and to me too, like as I got into it, it kind of leads more like credence to like the reincarnation of a lot of like other religions like the Hinduism and like Buddhism stuff that like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like Western culture doesn't usually ascribe to. But it's like once you
Mm-hmm.
actually got to start getting into it, it's like, oh no, like no, this stuff is actually real. Like, be open
Me
to
too.
learning
It's
about
just,
it.
yeah. And the thing is, I grew up in Asia for a very formative part of my life. And I think somehow it just, this must kind of, evaporate into you while you're there if you don't cocoon yourself in it. So for me, all these different philosophies have been a very easily accessible from the get-go, because they were around me and I was immersed in them. And for me, it's like the different cultures who have different viewpoints on stuff. And for me also, every religion and every spiritual movement has its good parts and has its really relatable things. And I love to just go along and pick out the things that fit to me, but I have respect for everyone who comes to me who adheres to one religion. It's not that I'm
Yeah.
saying, don't do that. But it's really like, wow, I love this freedom of choice thing, and like getting out of it what's best.
Yeah, I fully agree with that too. Because like I agree with you. Like every religion has its own like merits, like its good qualities that you can pull and like use to like live your life by. And you don't have to just be stuck into a pigeonhole that some people want you to be in. But so how long were you in Asia?
Well, like when I really lived there, I lived there for 8 years, but it was from age 6 to 14. So those were very, it's when you know how it is with the kids, that once they're between kindergarten and school, they start realizing where they are, and they start realizing their surroundings. Before it was just the family unit, and then something else comes in.
Yeah.
So for me, these were the woo. But for me, it was normal. I was in Japan when I was 6. I went to a German school, but I spoke fluent Japanese, which is somewhere stuffed away in my subconscious now. But I spoke because we lived in a Japanese neighborhood. And then when I was 10, 11, we moved to Pakistan, which was a Muslim country, which
Yeah.
also country. And I was in an American school there. This is where my weird mixed accent comes from. It was an international school. So I spoke English there. But I also had the surroundings. We also lived in a Pakistani neighborhood. And it was really like, I'm so grateful. This is the greatest gift my parents have given me, from in my eyes, to really like be respectful of every culture that is around you. It's like, it's not
Yeah.
just us, especially us Westerners. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I had another podcast conversation with someone. And I'm always like, yes, the world, everyone should be, equal, and it's
Yeah.
we can learn much from others. It's not just us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that because like you're right. It's not like the Western culture is not like the dominant culture. Like there is the Middle Eastern culture and the Eastern culture that has a lot of merit. And like it's not just one size fits all that we have to like take the Western culture and like force feed it to everyone else because they don't want it.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't need to give it to them.
Yeah, right. And this helps me so much in my therapeutic work. And I'm guessing you as well, if you have this open-mindedness to really, like, when someone comes to us, it's like, wow, who are you? Let's figure this out together. It's not more like, yes, I know exactly what you're going to say, and I know where your problem is, and we're going to solve it like this, but more like, let's go on this journey together. This is how I
Yeah.
work. And I think you do too, right?
Yeah, I did. I am like more of a like a journey type style therapist. Like I tell everyone that I'm the passenger in their car. They're driving the car. I
Mm-hmm.
actually have the map to help them get where they want to go. But I don't ever have a full plan in sessions. And I tell them up front, like I don't have a short plan for you. Like
Same.
like you will bring to me like things that you want to talk about. I will give you tools to use after what you bring me what you have, and I will use tools that I have and I'll give them to you. But I'm not going to force you to stay on like one path each time. I think
Right.
some people need that, and I will like do it for them. But it doesn't drive really with me. I feel like unauthentic whenever I have to like have like a plan for each session because like
Mm-hmm.
I like the conversation piece with my clients. I like just being able to sit down with them and like it's almost like we're having coffee, but still like
Mm-hmm.
getting to the root of their issues and then helping them with what's going on. That's how I like to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, same here. And when you use that car thing, like sometimes I do, like, how can I say, if I stay with the picture of the car, sometimes I might say, oh, we've turned right 10 times now. I think we're going in a circle. Why don't we try left, like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But still, I will be non-directive in that way, but more like offer a new thought maybe when I see that they're kind of circling around something, and to kind of like, loosen up the stuff. But in general, I'm the same. I really love going along with them. They're taking me on their journey. And I'm kind of, I feel that part of me is also like a bit of a scout, because I might be able to read some of the, like some of the symbols easier because I'm trained like that. And then I
Yeah.
will offer, like, look, I'm seeing this little track here. You wanna try it out or whatever. But other than that, I just stick to where they want to go. This is it's amazing. I love exploring this. How are
Yeah.
you too? We're
Yeah.
quite similar in how we work.
Yeah, because like they're like they know their lives better than I do. Like I can like look
Yeah.
at their situations from like a different perspective, like that's not as emotionally charged, and like we said, like give them little like hey, like maybe let's try like this thing instead. But like I can't, I obviously can't make them do things. Like yeah, we can see
Right.
them like repeating all patterns. Like okay, so you tried this before, didn't work, so maybe try like this. But they don't do it, so they're not ready for that change. And it's kind of like helping
Right.
them
Yeah.
be comfortable with either not changing or figuring out what they would need to become comfortable with changing.
Yes. Yes. And I think also, growing up, and we have of course, a lot of childhood stuff come up too in these sessions. It's an interesting mix to be, on the one hand, someone who assists them through their journey, and also to the role that we have, at least the way I see it. Yes, maybe some things I can see a bit clearer because I'm on the outside, are neutral or whatever. But I always like to be eye level because often enough, especially coming from childhood trauma or stuff, we're so used to like always like then pretending to be someone we're not, or just like to please the other person, do this and that. And if the other person doesn't give you that, hi, I expect you to behave like this and that now, or I know exactly how you behave, but they're just with you, with who you are. That's a whole, for many people, it's a whole new experience, right? To
Yeah.
just not be judged and just to be in your own space, and it's okay to be that way. And I love supporting them like that.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of like I know, like we talked about this a little bit, but like it's kind of like why I like doing it virtually because they literally
Mhm.
are in their own space. Like they're in their
Yes.
comfortable spot. They can be on their bed if they want to be like wrapped up in their blankets, or they can be like they can have their cup of coffee. And like I have some people that smoke, and like I hate the smell of cigarette smoke or like any smoke in general.
Same.
And so like I don't want
Yeah.
it around me. So I'm like, if you guys want to smoke, that's fine because I won't smell it because we're through a computer screen.
True, true. And also like what you said, I think also like I think you also work with anxiety
Yeah.
clients, right? And some of them really are not at the point right now, at this point when they're coming into therapy, that they really have a hard time leaving their house. So to think that they would have to take the hurdle of going out, taking maybe even either the car or a train or a bus or whatever, with all these people around them to your practice, and then sitting there and also knowing after the session I have to go back that way. It's for some of them it's much easier, and they wouldn't start therapy maybe if they had to go out of the house for that, and then to have the wonderful experiences when like along the way they say, hey, I went out today and it was okay, like to be like present to these moments is such a joy for me. And so I have so much respect for their courage. I was just saying this to a client the other day. I have so much respect for the work that they are willing to do on themselves. Whoever comes to me, it's like chapeau, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like actually a lot of my clients do have anxiety, but most of mine are like um trauma survivors. And
Mm,
a lot of them like they just having to leave their house just like triggers like the hypervigilant like symptom, and like kind of also be worried about what's gonna happen. And so like just having them stay at home or where they feel safe is
yeah,
just better for them because so many
yeah,
of them have been in like terrible situations and they have to like are always on guard. So like having them like have like their safe space is
yeah.
just huge.
And not go through the world to get to that safe space and then have to leave that safe space again to come back to their, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, same. And I mean, I also have access to a physical practice, and very seldomly I do go there for sessions, if it's needed or asked for by the person. But I personally also prefer doing it wherever I am. And what I love about this was my best career move, is that I can take my work with me. I love that because I love to travel, and I just love like being able to say, okay, I can work from anywhere, if they don't mind. And I mean, the backdrop is maybe a bit different, but I'm still the same person that they get. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And I remember like seeing your pictures a little bit ago, like where you were in France, and I was like super jealous. I still want to go to France. Like that's one thing I'm so jealous about is like people that live in Europe is like it's easier to like to go to different countries than it is in the United
true,
States. Because for
true.
us, like we're all in the same country. Yeah, we can try different states, but the culture's still basically the same. So it's not like we're getting anything different.
Yes, yes, yes. And I must admit, I do get, how can I say? like go cold turkey is a bit exaggerated, but if I don't have a different cultural place or like a situation around me for a couple of months, I kind of get really, I need it. It's a necessity for me to go somewhere where they speak another language and they have a different, attitude. It's actually a life elixir for me to have that every once in a while. If I don't have it, I feel very drained. It sounds weird maybe, but it's like, it's at least I know what I need, and I need that.
Yeah, no, but it's so cool. I think again, it makes sense because of your childhood. Like you said, like you were in you were in Japan, then you were in Pakistan, and obviously, like you have a German upbringing as well because you're German. So like you have all those cultures that you've been around like all your life. So to be completely isolated in just the one, yeah, I could see how that would be like. Nope, I need to get out. Like let's go to Poland for a day. Let's go to Belgium.
Yeah, and of course, this is also it's a plus for the people who come to me because they get someone who gets them more or less, and is not like shy about someone who has a hijab or something. It's not. It's like, hey, it's fine with me. Whatever you do, you. It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's to really see beneath all the outer thing, and I mean, there are situations where I would say there have been situations where I said, okay, you know what? I would love to help you, but I think I'm not culturally savvy enough to understand what you might be going through in your context. And not to say like, like maybe you need a therapist who's more fitting. And you know what I mean? It's like not
Yeah.
that I get them, because I don't get everyone. I'm in between, like the cultures. So I get a lot of the nuances, which maybe other people who haven't been living outside of their culture do. And also as a grown up, I've been going to other cultures. It's not that I'm just like, it was only my childhood. So I spent, I think, as a grown up, I used to travel a lot, and I still do. And I used to spend like 2, 3, 4 months in India at one time, because I used to work as a freelance chauffeur for a TV station in Munich. And I remember I was the chief conductor's driver, and I also drove other people. But whenever he was doing his Asian tour, concert tour, I would time it like, for instance, he left on November 10th, so I would leave on November 15th, also to Asia, but on my own terms. And he would come back, whatever, February 6th, and I would come back February 1st to be, unjet lagged and ready. And so I did that like that. I've always done it like that. It's like I really just, I'm a world citizen and I love it. And this is also like, I think some of my clients also like, yeah, they enjoy this, me not being so.
Yeah, you're like you definitely are, do not fit into a box. Like the box has been
Right.
broken and you cannot go back in.
Right. Exactly. And I help people who feel squeezed into a box not be so boxed in anymore. Like as if me being so unboxed, it gives them permission to also be unboxed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. Like it's like your energy just like totally speaks to like just like this freedom and this like kind of this enjoying life and like this joy, just be who you are, regardless of what anyone else is saying. It's like
Right.
it
Yeah,
it's
but
so
including also sadness, like I think that's also something very, very important, to also be able to embrace that and still enjoy it. You know what I mean?
yeah. But yeah, it's
Right.
kind of like the freedom of emotion, basically. Like you're allowed to be free to be who you are without the
Mm-hmm.
constraints of a box. Because like there's so
Yeah.
many people that are like being put into boxes all the time, either by family or their
Right.
culture that they live in,
Yeah.
and just like be able to break free, be like, no, like this doesn't fit me anymore. I can get out of it.
Yes, and I think also to a certain sticking to the picture of boxes, boxes do give you a certain amount of safety as well, to like know your place and blah blah blah. But on the other hand, if you feel the urge to grow beyond that, to to know that it's okay. And I think I remember long many years ago, I also spoke to someone. She even it was the person was vegan, and it was a she, and she was kind of like upset with people who were still eating meat, and kind of we worked on her accepting. I will not go into details, but that's just one example that came to mind right now with the boxes. That's even though you choose to do it differently, or choose a different path, to also still be accepting of people who don't want to think outside of the box, who want to stay in that box and not say like, come on, wake up, or how could you do that? But really like, it's like there's an element of peace, being at peace with who you are, but also being at peace with the other people are who maybe want you in that box, but you're not in that box anymore.
Yeah, no, that
To
makes
find
sense
to
too.
bridge that.
Because like there's like just from my personal life personally, like I'm definitely an outside of the box thinker, and I don't always like want to be in the box. And my husband definitely likes to be in the box, and him and I like will like come like not mesh because I like to be outside the box and he wants to be in the box.
Wow.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We're like,
That's
we don't need to be in
interesting.
the box.
Must be many interesting situations.
Yeah, well, him and I are very we are like yin and yang in a lot of things, but that's why we work because he has
Mhm.
what I don't have and I have what he doesn't
Mhm.
have. So we're a balance for each other. And that's how we work. I need a balance in my life because otherwise I can be a little bit unrealistic with some things. And like I just want to go and do, and I always think through like, okay, so how do I actually do the thing? And he's more
Yeah.
like, okay, so this is the thing you want to do, this is how we do it. And like to keep
Uh-huh.
me
Yeah.
grounded.
But I love how you combine that, and that's also I think like a great goal to have, to really embrace everyone's differences and to say like, hey, we all add up to a wonderful whole thing. I used to play with my brothers. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons a lot as a young person, and I still love it. But we didn't go into the woods and dressed up as warriors, but we played it on the table as
Yeah.
back in the day. And I love how these different characters, have different skill sets
Yeah.
and like the mage throw fireballs, but he's super vulnerable. He doesn't have many hit points, and the cleric will heal people and like turn undead, but he's not the best fighter. Then there's the tank, then there's the damage dealer, then there's this and that this, and every one of them has their weaknesses and their strengths. But if you combine them, you get a really great crew,
Yeah.
to go through the adventure. And I see this a bit like our inner worlds, but also like in the outer worlds, there's so many people with so many different assets and weaknesses. And I just love embracing it all.
Yeah, I do too. And actually my husband and I we play Dungeons and Dragons too. So
Yay.
yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Hey,
Yeah.
cool. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. It is so much fun. So actually running one time, but I know you want to talk about like the differences for you, like with seeing people in person and with telehealth. So like, what do you feel like you gain the best with seeing people in person versus in telehealth?
Yeah, it's a bit on what we touched on earlier, right? That
Yeah,
they are in a safe space. What you said too, that often enough, and I mean, there's people who just want to see you in person. And I understand that. They want a neutral room, and I get that. They want to be in a neutral space where this is the clinic. It's a bit of a clinical setting that where we can sit and it's just about the problems. And then I go out again and the problems are left in that space. And so, of course, you see their body language more because, this is where we're cut off. You
yeah,
don't see, I mean, maybe also good not to see it. If you're still in your pajamas or what have you, or your room is messy or whatever, it's like maybe it's good that we only see a portion. And so, or even like if someone smells of alcohol or tobacco, like you said, you don't smell that. Some of the senses are not engaged. But I do have the impression that people that I see in telehealth, because I know both settings, often are just tend to be even more authentic.
yeah,
There's something about the a weird mix of, on the one hand, you're on the spot in your place or in your office or whatever, in a quiet place where you can do it, and authentic. On the other hand, the virtual room still gives you that distance of anonymity in a way, because we're not sitting like, and we're not smelling. I'm not riding on the smell thing, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
there's not all the senses are engaged.
yeah.
And I
And
remember, I mean, sometimes you're surprised that someone will come in physically that you only saw virtually before and you thought they would be much taller or whatever, stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But again, maybe also it's nice for someone who has insecurities in some aspects. They're happy that they're not seen with these insecurities that they're insecure about,
yeah,
but just seen as the person. And I think that's a huge chance as well.
yeah, I fully agree. And that's why I like telehealth too. That was like they can stay where they're at and they don't have to like worry about driving anywhere, and like they can have access to so many different therapists than they would if they were just stuck to physical location. Because like a lot of my clients I
Right.
see from across the state. Like I'm never by
Hmm.
Philadelphia, so like I'm out of Pittsburgh. Just like having them like have the ability to have like other therapists actually get them, but not being constrained to like one area, I think is huge too. And the only thing I do miss is
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's like you said, like we are cut off. And a lot of people like listeners like might hide their hands underneath the table, so you don't know if like they're wringing their hands, like if they're nervous, or if like they're bouncing their
Right.
legs, so you might be losing those things. But I mean, if they're kind of
True.
like you kind of see it in their shoulders too, but you can still kind of like pick up
Yeah.
on their energy. So like to me, I don't feel like I lost too
Totally.
much from like doing virtually,
Hmm.
but there are the only time I have like a hard time with virtual is with kids. Like I can't I
Mm.
kids virtually is so hard. Like whenever I did family based
Yeah.
and whenever during the height of COVID and we were like all quarantined, had to do everything virtually on Zoom, it was so challenging. Kids like 10
Yeah.
under having to stay focused on the session. Like, no,
Yeah.
that does not
Yeah.
happen. Like you need to be able to physically engage them in like an
Yeah.
activity. But teenagers and
Right.
adults, it's so much easier with telehealth.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. I hardly ever, I don't work with kids. I work with young adults upwards. I've worked with teenagers, but mostly are young adults and upwards. But I get what you mean. Yeah, totally. And, but I mean, I don't want to turn this around because you're the interviewer, but I would like to know how you became a therapist.
I can give like a quick journey. So I went to school. I got my degree, obviously psychology and neuroscience, and then I minored in religion. And then I had a gap year because whenever I applied to grad school, I didn't get in because I applied to doc programs because they had like a master's and doctoral program combined. So I'm like, why go to school twice when I can do it all in one? But all the doctoral programs were like, no, you still have to have your master's first before you join us. I was like, okay, it's just stupid.
Aw.
But in that meantime, I was working in residential facilities, working with kids that had a lot of like SI behaviors, self-interest behaviors, or suicidal ideations, or like even just like behavioral outbursts. Um, and then I went from there. I was TSS, which is a therapeutic support staff, which they now changed the name to something else. I don't remember what it is. But I did in-home work. It's basically like glorified babysitter, working with kids with Down syndrome and autism. And then I went from there to another, working in a school, working with kids with autism. And then from there to another residential facility, working with boys that had a lot of behavioral issues or were runaways. So like working with them. And then during I was working with the boy in the boys group home, I was actually in grad school. So I did that for a little bit while I was in grad school. And then I did family based, which is where I went in home and did family therapy with people, which was fun. I learned a lot. It was great, like working with the whole family, seeing the whole like family unit. And but afterwards,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm done with this. And I did school based, which is where I did like outpatient therapy in the school. And then I opened my own practice, and I'm here.
I love how you have so much under your belt. I mean, you're quite young still, and you're like you have all these experiences. And I think they kind of like also they make a bigger picture, don't they? Like because you've watched so many things from so many different angles in so many
Yeah,
different settings.
it's definitely influenced the way I view things because like yeah, I've seen everyone like in the residential facilities, like the high end, like intense behaviors, dealing with all those things, and then like the in-home stuff, and then seeing like the minor stuff in the schools, and it kind of like plays into. I feel like things like definitely are impacted by our environment and how we're raised. Because if the environment that we're
Hmm.
in is not emotionally supportive, then our emotional needs and our emotional growth isn't going to be there because the kids are just so focused on surviving and getting
Yes.
dealing with their parents, which then leads to adults that don't know how to be emotionally responsible adults. And just like it's kind of like this whole pattern where it's like if you get in early and teach your children how to be emotionally responsible people and how to handle their own emotions at a
Hmm.
really early age, it will help them for life. Like I personally have a 4-year-old and 2-year
Yeah.
old, and like I am doing my hardest to make sure they are emotionally intelligent beings. But it is challenging with your own child. But it is so important.
Yes, totally. And also, I think also besides this, also being transparent as a parent, right? Like to also like, I have a bad day today, and you know, to give them that info as well. I think a pedagogue friend of mine for a long time, I said, oh, because I'm also a mother. I said, sometimes I feel I'm not a strict mother at all, but being a not strict mother, I sometimes felt too strict. It was like, no, it's actually good that also they see that someone can have a bad day and can, you know, like be a bit overboard with it. But if you reflect this afterwards, of course, 2 and 4 is quite young still, but you know, I've always reflected this together. And she said, it's not only so much that you also get to bed, but this reciprocally also gives them the permission to also have a bad day, and you understand that they have a bad day. That was just one thing I thought was so valuable, you know, to kind of like not to like, again, with the joy and the sorrow that goes along, you know, that everything has its place and it's okay. It's like, but I totally get what you're saying with the trying your best to be a good parent, but we will also be flawed and make mistakes.
Yes.
I think it's inevitable.
It
But
definitely is. Yeah. Well, so before we get cut off by the Zoom, I'm gonna thank you. Thank you so much for talking with me. This has been amazing, and I'd love to do it again because it's been like so much fun.
Thank you. Same. Yes, let's continue this conversation.
Yes, I love you. Like, and thank you so much for being my guinea pig. Like, you were literally the first person I'm doing this with, like with me leading it.
Thank you.
And I feel like it went really good. But thank you. I'm gonna stop the recording now.
All right.